perspective.
Well, I'm grateful to the kind invitation from John, Angara Conference, and apologize to be late. It's a challenge to make us less able to make a unity and a consolidarity to resolve some difficulty concerning South China Sea dispute, but we can overcome it. Yesterday, Vice President of the US, Joe Biden, met with my President, Xi Jinping, and they resolved the dispute. ADIZ, East China Sea. China announced the ADIZ, US had difficulty, Japan had difficulty because US concerned, US did not know what's China's intention. And that overlapped with Japan's ADIZ and overlapping W Island and Senkaku. And the US had difficulty with two things. One, why why military aircraft need to notify Chinese if they would fly over this area. Because this area would cover some high sea, would cover some of China's EEZ. Per international law, China has no right to ask others to notify China, I'm coming, when they fly over high sea space, and space over EEZ. And no international law would mandate China to have such a right. But China would say, well, I'm interested in doing it for my national security. But you are free to fly. But please, you are advised to tell me. If you don't tell me, I will not say you violate international law, but you violate my national decree. So I would make my self-identification. If I feel you pose threat to me, I would send my jet fighters to escort you. If I identify that you are coming without posing a threat, fine, nothing would happen. So you're free to observe or not to observe, because I have no right to impose this on you. But you're welcome to observe. US government does not recognize its legitimacy, but still advise Federal Aviation Agency administration still advise the civilian airline to observe. So by yesterday, 55 foreign civilian airlines from 19 countries observed. Japan would soon join. There is no reason why Japan should not join. Just tell us you don't hurt us. If you don't join, you have your ADIZ established in 1969, 44 years ago. And the Chinese civilian airline follow. So why you ask us follow, you don't follow? Making no harm if we follow. So we need to explain this to Vice President. So he would no longer say China should withdraw. He may still say China should revise, because when the US set up its own ADIZ in 1950, 63 years ago, the US would not ask those foreign aircraft flying over its own zone, but not towards the US, just passing by to notify US. You do not need to notify. So US would feel that China would make no difference, any foreign aircraft. Either they would fly toward China, or they just pass by, need to notify. That's too much. And yesterday, Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson Hong Lei made an interesting remarks. As long as we want to keep our dialogue channel open with Japan and to discuss those technical details, how not to have some unnecessary conflict. That's China's concession. We are willing to talk. We are willing to amend. We are willing to take care of your concern as long as it's equal. But if Japan would take a chance the island into its ADIZ, we think it's unwarranted because our territory and our territorial space, how you can ask our aircraft entering our own island-based airspace to notify you. It's not your business. But Japan would have the same argument. Why China would ask Japanese aircraft entering their airspace above Senkaku to notify China? China should have no such rights. So these two countries need to recognize their dispute. We have this to resolve. If Japan would keep saying no dispute, only one solution: war fighting. If we admit there are disputes, 3 more solutions: negotiation, mediation, and international court. Philippines is bringing China to UNCLOS-based tribunal. Well, this is a way for peaceful settlement. But if we say there is no dispute, we should not go to the court to settle dispute. So Philippines still allows peaceful means to settle dispute. It's much better than to have armed conflict. Okay, turning to South China Sea, the business for which I'm coming. First, this area has lots of water, lots of marine life, and lots of seabed-based minerals. So this kind of thing. And before 1982, no UNCLOS. 12 nautical miles. Beyond that, high sea. So China is entitled to its high sea equal rights with all other countries, and other countries would be entitled to the same rights. But after 1982, China is entitled to its unique EEZ, which others would be not entitled to China's own EEZ in terms of seabed-based minerals and marine life. But the water is for all, and all are entitled to water and the rights for peaceful use of it, either scientific research or transportation. China cannot deprive others' rights in its own EEZ. Vice versa, China legally is not entitled to rights of seabed-based minerals and the marine life of all neighboring countries' EEZ, but would still be entitled to research, scientific research, and peaceful transportation. But China say, the fish is not enough. I much developed my economy. I have so many people. Per capita Chinese ocean line is very small, 18,000 kilometers in total. We have 1.3 billion people. So per capita sea-based resource is very small. So water is not fair, because we have a small portion of it with so many people. When all countries are equal, actually the world is not fair. This is one argument. But 30 years ago, China's argument is we are all developing countries, and we should work together to counter the US hegemony, Soviet Union hegemony. We should shrink high sea to make less high sea for them to use. And we would not go to the US to threat the US. They would come under the cover of peaceful use. Actually, they would conduct a reconnaissance mission, etc., to hurt our national security. 30 years ago, when China was economically weak, we think by reducing high sea, we benefit. 30 years later, when we are less weak but not strong, we thought we were wrong 30 years ago. Because we are half of the United States, and we do not have enough near-shore resource. So what we will do? We will develop a new idea. That is, we have 1947-based 9-dash line or 11-dash line that entitles China all economic rights forever. But who tells forever? China did not say in 1947 forever. China did not say in 1982 forever. But when China needs resource, China says it's ambiguous. Please allow us to have ambiguous dispute and to settle the ambiguous dispute ambiguously. That's the reason why China is behaving in a way that looks less interested in observing international law. With a reason. Let's see United Nations General Assembly. All countries have one vote. So China would have one vote with the Philippines, that's equal. But in the United Nations Security Council, China is not equal with the Philippines. And China enjoys the inequality. China is uninterested in the UN Security Council reform. China wants to maintain its unique power status. So you see, when you're weak, you want to be equal. When you're strong, you don't want to be equal. That's the reality. It's not good. I'm a scholar, it's not good, but that's the reality. When the Philippines is weak, Philippines would brag strong power American to balance, to make it strong. So Philippines want to make the use of strength of the ally to balance China. So China thinks I'm not as strong as the US, so I will continue to develop. So in reality, the UN has equal system, General Assembly, and unequal system, Security Council. And the World Bank is totally unequal. America has voting rights, 22%, China may have some 4%, Japan may have some 80%. But sooner or later, because China's GDP is rising, China will have more percentage of voting rights in World Bank. Therefore, the shifting of power balance is ever changing. And all need to adapt to it. But I hope hopefully in a mutually accommodating, mutually cooperating, mutually reinforcing way. So China would benefit from the US leadership. And others would benefit from China's supporting role to the US. And the US would take care of the business of China. So what we need to have is, when China drew the line in 1947, China declared only one thing, in my personal view. Not fishing rights, but all rocks and its features, about 200 in the area, belong to me. It may be unfounded in history, but Chinese national narrative is it has historical rights that I doubt. I think China may have some rights over some of the island, not all. Not all Chinese like me, because I keep saying this. I think a Philippine friend would like me, because China may not have the grounds to claim all rocks. And even for some history, when we sent Guo Shoujing to this place close to Philippines, Scarborough Shoal, 800 years ago. At that time, China was entitled, but throughout the 8th century, China did not police to exercise jurisdiction persistently, consistently. So why 800 years ago you have it, and you don't come for 800 years, you are still entitled to it. When civilian people would touch it, fine, but that did not give the sovereignty for a country. So China cannot say, my fishermen are wrong. It had to be our police, our marine, our navy. So China's claim, in my personal view, was not solid. But when we drew the line to make it clear, I think not many countries protest. US did not, UK did not, and France did it in a limited way, because they were still colonizing Vietnam, and the Soviet Union did not. Then Vietnam could not speak for itself. Philippines did not. Malaya did not. No Brunei at that time. So that's the thing that is good for China. Bad for our friend. They did not. To what I learned, the 5 early constitution of Philippines did not make a case that the Philippines is entitled to Scarborough Shoal. Philippines start to claim from 1980s, 1990s. China's latest claim was as early as 1947. Philippines started to claim this place as late as in 1997. So we have these clear facts. I do not know the facts 100 years ago, I do not know. But I would say Philippines was either under the colonial rule of Spain, or sort of colonial rule of America, or colonial rule of Japan. Philippines did not have the sense to say no. And we are a good developing country, a good neighbor of Philippines. We should not say, because you did not protest, you should keep this position. We should sympathize with Philippines. And we should sympathize with Vietnam, because they were under control of France. And France did not totally agree with China. And we should sympathize with Malaya, because Malaya was either under Japanese colonial rule or when Britain returned, it's not totally sovereign. So this is my view. They did not speak in a way that is consistent with today's statement. Second, we should sympathize with them, because we used to be brought to life by Japan. And we made our own independence. We should be friendly to our neighbors. But then, legalistically speaking, they did not speak out. Probably until 1997, Philippines was still speaking that among its 7,000 islands, the westmost island was Luzon, which was 130 nautical miles east of Scarborough. So we do have our weakness. China should forgive others' weakness. Others should appreciate China's benign behavior. China did not calculate well, but China paid a bigger cost. If China did not join UNCLOS, like India and Pakistan did not join NPT, they did not violate an international treaty, widely, universally accepted, but they did not join. Every country has a sovereignty not to join a particular international law. So they did not violate a treaty that they joined. So that's Indian view. China may never join sabotaging negotiation, but China joined, pushed, to hurt the US, to hurt the Soviet Union, to benefit myself, benefit Vietnam, benefit Brunei, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia and the Philippines, without a good calculation. But created a bad outcome for China today. Would our friend be sympathetic with my country by saying, well, we're friends, because you make a mistake, I sympathize. I made a mistake, you sympathize. So China said, you keep the 8 island for Philippines. Vietnam keep the 29 island they took in 1975, after China supported them to successfully defeat the Americans in South Vietnam. Malaysia keep the 5 island. Let's forget about this. But would you mind to allow us to fish in the outside of your EEZ? Not at all, but a part of it, with a squatter for fishing, and give some fee to you. Let's be friends. This is all I want to tell. We are your friend. We made a good effort to make it UNCLOS. We should never forget for doing good things for ourselves and for you. Please excuse our mistake by sharing some of your precious fishery resource with us. And we would excuse your early silence by not saying no to the aggressive government of Republic of China. Now it's the benign government of People's Republic of China in Beijing, not in Taipei. So this is all I want to say. Cooperation. Thank you very much.